Well, thank you for joining me. It's officially you're actually firstly my first ever second time. Wait, fuck. No, I'm saying it wrong. You're officially the first person to be on the second time at the
Oh,
Group podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you're my first ever returning
Thank
guest.
you.
Returning guest.
Thanks. That's awesome.
So I just kind of wanted to go over, like I said, the your 2022 season recap. Because in my opinion, outside of the people that kind of won their pro cards, you pretty much had one of the best competitive seasons out of all of Australian athletes, I reckon, last year. So I'd love
Thank
to
you.
go into more detail about that. So when we last spoke, I think it was just before the QLD stage show, and I was there, and you took away first place, and that was awesome to see, and you won the overalls. And
Yeah.
then 2 weeks later was nationals. So kind of what was, I guess, was it just to kind of hold what you brought to states and bring it to national?
Yeah. So, judges' feedback was don't change.
Oh, that's
Their
perfect.
words. Their words, don't change. And Steph wanted me to have a little bit of a tighter physique.
Yeah.
So we kind of just kept grinding really. Didn't really change too much of my diet. And then that was it. And then we came into nationals lighter, tighter, still looking really full.
Yeah.
And then again, obviously, as the results, I didn't get my pro card. And their feedback was that I needed to bring in a little bit of a tighter waist. And that's why she got the pro card
Yeah.
and not me.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't until because I was unable to make it because I was sick. And as I'm watching the live stream, I was really intrigued to see that final overalls. And when I saw, by the time I think just before it came on and all the classes had been done, to me, you were in the lead. But because I hadn't really known Laura or seen her physique that well. So when we got into overalls, and she ended up winning, it kind of made sense. Like it was, in my opinion, a bad call. Like I think it could have really gone
Either way.
whoever, but
Yeah.
I get why she won in that regard, how they're saying, when you got to judge who's on stage, at Nash at state, you were the clear winner, so don't change. But then when you have someone who may just have that smaller waist or tighter look, it just edges you out a bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Did you feel, were you confident when you did the overall? So after winning your class and you were getting ready for the overalls, did you feel like this was it? Did it kind of feel like this was the moment, or was there a bit of uncertainty?
Not really, but how the day went, it was different. It was different. Queensland, I felt like a winner immediately.
Yeah.
The day, I just felt like a winner. Really confident, backstage confident, just feeling really good. And then come nationals, I kind of was like super chill, super mellow. And not that I wasn't confident in my physique, but I don't know, I was very chill. And I kept getting asked, like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm just riding the wave, just super
Yeah.
chill, just like riding the wave. Okay, okay. And then yeah, and then when I didn't win, I was obviously disappointed. Um, but then it also just brings more fire into me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um, yeah. Then of course straight away, Steph and I drawing board, like
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately, always, like nonstop talking. Okay, how are we going to improve, or how are we going to bring that tight physique? How are we going to do this? Let's talk game plan. So we all straight away talk game plan because we knew the next show was going to be Japan.
Okay.
So, but obviously nobody knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did. So, yeah, obviously I was gutted that I didn't get my pro card in Australia because that would have been amazing. But then I also knew I had these shows up my sleeve for other potentials. So even though I was gutted, I was like, it's okay. I've still got more chances.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really interesting kind of hearing you say that because it really shows the importance of, I guess, I was gonna say your mindset, but in some way your mindset because like you're saying, the difference with the stage show, you felt a winner the whole day.
Mm.
And maybe there was just something about nationals where maybe if you had that same mentality, you could have ended up winning the pro card, but for some reason, something maybe obviously just felt a bit off.
Yeah.
Even though maybe I guess you didn't realize it at the time. So it's interesting how I guess your mind, your body kind of follows what your mind is thinking, and I guess you that 100, you're maybe 99% confident, but you're just missing that 1%. So it's just
Yeah,
interesting to hear
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
takeaway from the comparison to QLD to nationals.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, like when you're so lean, like we'll talk in depth about this when we start talking about the other shows, but
Yeah.
when you're so lean, anything shows, everything shows. Like you might not feel stressed, but your body's stressed, it'll show
Yeah.
it. And like if you are stressed, then your body's going to show
Yeah.
it. Like literally any little thing. If I had too much water, for example, or too much salt, like my body's going to show it. Like the first thing, and then obviously, for me, my personal problem area is my midsection, and that's just because my body genetics
Hmm.
straight away. First place I put on body fat, midsection. Last place to lose it, midsection. Like,
I'm very
and that's just who
similar.
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
get
just who
it.
I am. And genetically, that's just how I am. So again, any sort of stress or any like factors that affect my life, my
Yeah.
mentality, midsection. So unfortunately, that's just me, and I just have to work with it and
Yeah,
just yeah, that's it.
and learn to manage it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So before we talk about Japan, I remember we talked about in the podcast, and you did say that there was plans that you were doing more shows. Was it always to do the three that you did? Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
I
That's
had
cool. That's
all
cool.
of this planned for a long time.
But that's what as I was watching it unfold, I was like, was it
Is he
always the
still
Amateur
doing
Olympia
this?
in
Yeah.
Japan, or was it just like, oh, we'll jump in Hawaii, or was it, oh no, we're here, we'll just jump in Amateur Olympia? So it's cool to see
No,
it was
it was
set from the
always
beginning.
planned. Yeah, absolutely. The trips around America though, like that was like legit YOLO. Like all we did was book a flight from Hawaii to I think we went to Texas straight
Yeah.
away, Hawaii to Texas, and from there we absolutely YOLO'd. We like, let's go here now. All right, cool. We'll just book an Airbnb, book a car, book flights. Like we literally just like YOLO'd, and it was so fun. It
That's
was like
awesome.
such an awesome way to do it. We ended up staying in Miami for longer
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, which was really, really cool that we did that. But yeah, otherwise the shows were always planned. We were actually going to do a random show in, I think it was Orlando,
Yeah.
but because I wasn't a US citizen, I couldn't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, because it was a pro qualifier as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
but only for obviously Americans and US
Yeah,
citizens and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I asked if I could do it, and they said no because I'm
That's a bummer.
not. Yeah, because I'm an Aussie, and I'm like, damn it. But
That would have been nice. Another opportunity.
oh, exactly right. And I just thought, like, why not full send it? Like, I'm already sending it. Like, let's just keep going. Like, we're already here. Let's just keep doing it. And Steph was awesome, like, so supportive. And then she'll obviously pull the brakes whenever needed to pull the brakes. But yeah, I was always like, hey, what do you think about this or whatever? And then yeah, but we work really well together,
No,
evidently.
I think that's good. I think it's important. It really shows the magic of spontaneous, like having a spontaneous adventure. And like you're saying, we just booked the ticket to US and we just kind of YOLO'd it. I think you get more enjoyment and you also one learn more about yourself and then whoever you're spending time with. It's more of an I think being okay, we're gonna book here, go here helps, especially like in a prep, I understand. But I think like you're saying, you ended up getting more out of it and having more fun just
Yeah.
out of going, oh, let's just go here, let's stay here longer. Oh, we're liking this place more, let's stay here. No, let's move now. So that's really
Mm.
cool.
Yeah.
So then okay, back to Japan. So this was your first official international show.
Yeah. First
So
official. Yeah.
kind of, I guess, give me a breakdown of kind of how that all happened, like the flight over, leading up to the show, because this was the one show that you didn't place, correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
First
you,
call
you
out.
still
We're
first call out,
thinking,
yeah.
yeah, first call outs, we were thinking either sixth or seventh. Yeah, I think Steph was thinking more sixth place.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the flight there, hilarious, actually, more because of Steph. Um, so in Japan, in order to go to Japan, you need to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
We checked everything obviously before we left. It does not disclose how many vaccinations you require. It wasn't until we arrived in Cairns, so we had to fly to Cairns first,
Yeah.
and then from Cairns to Tokyo. The lady was like, okay, I need evidence of all three vaccinations. And she was like, I'm only double vaxxed.
Oh, so you need like a booster.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, look, we close the to drop off your bags in an hour. You'll be able to get an Uber 10 minutes away to a chemist. get the booster and come back. As long as you have the evidence of the vaccination and before this hour
Yeah, yeah,
window,
yeah.
you're good. Steph goes, oh my God, okay. Literally goes outside, books an Uber, legs it, just gone. And there I am, like,
Well, in the airport still.
airport, just waiting for her, just with her luggage. And I'm there waiting, like, I really hope she makes it. I
Yeah.
really hope she makes it. I really hope they have vaccinations available because, you know, some chemists like run out. Anyway, and there we are, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. Worst case scenario, I'll just go. I'll leave her bags here and she'll be on the next flight and we'll be good. It'll be fine. And there I am, like, trying to tell myself, it's okay. We're good. It's fine. Anyway, she ends up making it. She makes it back, I think, with like 10 minutes to spare.
That's
Literally
crazy.
crazy. I'm like, universe, thank you. And then, anyways, we ended up making it. It was totally fine in the end. So yeah, that was like the first little hiccup. Flight there was awesome, obviously, because I was in peak week, so I was like water loading and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, everything was cool. Checked into our place. Everything was all right until I wanted to go shopping to get produce. So that was probably the first hiccup.
Yeah.
Trying to get genuine chicken breasts, like genuine fruit veg, all that sort of stuff. That was probably the first battle. Obviously, like language barrier
Yeah, yeah.
going to be an issue.
Had had Steph been to Japan before or?
She had been to Japan before. Yeah, that's actually where she got her pro card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we didn't actually realize. So we were staying in Shinjuku. We didn't actually realize. We thought it was the venue was actually closer to where we were. And actually turned out to be further away. Anyway, so to reduce stress, I booked an Airbnb close to the venue to just before the show.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, ended up doing that. We were going to the venue to do registrations and all that sort of stuff. And I got a phone call from my friend who was looking after my dog and the house, and my dogs and the
Yeah.
house and stuff. And she told me that he got a paralysis tick. And yeah, like that's kind of like life or death if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
yeah. So that straight away made me so stressed because I was 2 days out. And she tried so hard. She's like, I've been trying so hard not to contact you. But
Yeah.
my other half, my man, he was interstate at a wedding and he was in a no reception area. So she said she couldn't get through to him. So she's like, the only person I can contact is you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then there was that hiccup. Anyways, we go to registration, we do everything. It's getting late, it's getting dark, finishing up, had out to my like first coat of tan, all that sort of stuff. Anyways, I get a taxi to the Airbnb, which like their taxis were so expensive. Like I think it ended up being like $70 or something stupid.
Wow.
For like maybe, I don't know, a 20-minute ride. Like it was ridiculous. Anyway, get there, try to check into the Airbnb, no response. I haven't been given any details on how to check into my Airbnb. We were essentially stranded in some random city, no idea. No one was like really around. It was I think 9:30 at night. I didn't know what to do. And I had no food. Like I had food, but I didn't have food ready for the next day, and I had to have to start my carb up, and I didn't have any of that prepared.
At this point,
was
how many days was it from the show? Two,
two.
two? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that was like so stressful. I'm trying to like find somewhere for us to stay. Nowhere, no Airbnb close by with a kitchen because I needed a kitchen to cook food and stuff. And then, yeah, I managed to get a room at the host hotel. Obviously no kitchen, nothing, but they had a microwave. And there I was, I kid you not, till I think it was almost midnight. I was cooking rice in a microwave out of literally like little containers that I could find that I had from previous food that I made in there. And I just like kept like cooking it, like literally cooking rice however much could fit in there. I kid you not, I cooked raw chicken breast in the microwave. I'm literally there looking at it, cutting it open. Mind you, when I say cutting it open with my fingers because I didn't have cutlery. And then
What
there
a
I was
nightmare.
cooking salmon in the microwave. Like,
How,
so I just kept telling the universe, I was like, you are challenging me, but I'm going to win.
yeah.
Anyway, so I told Steph, and Steph had so much work to do as well. So she was like busy working, and there I was just trying to cook my food. So in the end, managed to get it done. Went to bed and was like, all right, we're good. It's fine. We can do this. And then, yeah, so going between Japan and Hawaii and seeing the two different peak weeks and then seeing my weight, I was holding 2 kilos of water for Japan.
okay.
So again, straight to the midsection.
Yeah.
So Japan, unfortunately, was not my best physique. And that was just because of this stress that I couldn't control, just everything out of my control. But we just took it as an experience again and learning curve. I was absolutely stoked that I got first call outs, like in my first international show. And even thought, hey, maybe I might get fifth. Like,
Yeah.
who knows? Sadly, I didn't, and that was okay. So, yeah, and then we were like, all right, well, off to the next one. Like, done and dusted. It's not what we wanted, unfortunately, but we just couldn't control these things. So, yeah, it wasn't until Hawaii that we realized like how much water I was holding from stress. Like,
That that's
it's
act
crazy.
yeah, that's actually it's really interesting to hear. Because I remember seeing a few videos that you were posting on your story and stuff like that, and everything seemed to be like going good in that. So it's crazy to now hear what actually was going on and how like fuck, it was just one bad thing after another. And
Yeah, it was just unfortunate.
it really then shows how important managing stress is.
Oh,
And
especially when you're like stage lean. Yeah, like I was spending once I found like a grocer that had asparagus because nobody had asparagus. Once I found one, I kid you not, $10 for 4 stalks. I think in the end, I may have spent like a few $100s in asparagus
that's
on it.
criminal. That's so bad.
Yeah, literally. So that was pretty wild. Yeah. Like their food was like fresh produce. Like
Yeah.
you had to travel so far. So I would walk like 40 minutes in one direction. Again, like me, I didn't feel stressed. I liked walking, but my
Yeah.
body was like,
Yeah.
I'm stressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been too much. Like you were mentally, you didn't feel stressed, but all the hiccups were mentally making you stressed, and then because your body's trying to deal with that, then doing the extra steps to get where you got to do, that's more than stress on your physical body. So it was just one
Yeah.
thing after
And
the
working
other.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
When when it came to stepping on show day, like on stage, and it was show day, had everything kind of at that point, like had you the stress to alleviate a little bit? Did you feel a bit more, I guess, confident because you're like, okay, I'm here now. I just got to focus on this. It's all done now. Or were you still a little bit affected from what had occurred?
No, I think it was the moment that I had like my food sorted and I had been like, I actually put up a story on my Instagram and I wrote a few words of what I'm grateful for. It was actually a photo of me in an elevator. And yeah, I laid in bed and I uploaded that. I wrote those words and I thanked the universe despite the challenges. And I said, thank you for teaching me and showing me and reminding me of the strength that I have
Yeah.
despite all of these challenges. So once I did that, it was kind of like a big like let go. I'm very spiritual and like such a little hippie. I like believe in all that sort of stuff. So I kind of just like let go and then at that moment I was like, tomorrow's a new day. Like
Yeah.
I'm in control.
It's
And then
that
felt really, really good.
it's like that gratitude for adversity and how it can
Yeah,
strengthen you, and you just accept that it's happened and you're going to come out better. And like you said,
exactly. Because
it's
I
like a
can't
relief.
control anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no point in like absolutely destroying myself when I had no control over anything. I just have to manage it and then just move on. So yeah, that was sort of like the mindset I had. And then once I wrote those things that I was grateful for and then went to bed, I woke up feeling so good. And actually my body came in so much tighter from what it was the night before. So even though I was still holding so much water, it looked better.
Yeah.
So imagine if I hadn't, like, who knows what I would have looked like. Yeah.
It's also the what if question of like, yo, if you were able to bring that A game from nationals and you didn't have all the stress and you weren't holding all the water, because congratulations to Emma, one of our Aussies who ended up winning the pro
Yeah.
card there. That's amazing. But like you could have been up there, like you could have beat her, you could have placed for, first and second with her. Like it would have been, it's a big what if, and it's a, like you're saying, it's part of the universe. You can't really do anything about it. And you ended up, I guess, not redeeming, but everything fell into place for Hawaii, really.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Hawaii was just like, I think Hawaii was the most amazing, like in every way possible. It was honestly the biggest blessing in disguise going to Hawaii because it turns out to be it wasn't a pro qualifier. So I didn't
yeah,
even need to do the show.
I was so baffled by that too. When I realized, I was like, did she win a pro card? No, yes, no, no.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. Everyone was. Yeah. So Hawaii was after Japan. Obviously, I'm just like to keep to myself. So I was like, I'm not posting anything. I'm just enjoying myself in Hawaii. Live every day, like just explore, travel, be an athlete, do all that sort of fun thing. And then come out with a bang on show day. And then that's when I dropped that reel with my favorite track. I resonate with that song so much. Win by J Rock.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and then literally I just again how I felt in Hawaii was exactly how I felt in Queensland
yeah.
state. I felt like a winner. I was
You,
like to Steph, I am a winner today. And she goes, you are. And I said, I feel like Queensland. And my physique was, insane. And I came in so tight and just like full. And yeah, I would say Hawaii was probably my favorite physique. And I have to tell you a story about what happened. So we started up my carb up. Okay. So first day of carb up, I was having about 300 grams of carbs. So I was eating bulk rice. Like I love carb up. It's best ever. And it was that night that I went to bed. I got woken up in the middle of the night and I looked at the time, it was like 2 a.m. Hunger was real. Like I've experienced hunger. Like we all like
yeah,
prep, like that's it. Yeah, hunger. This was nothing like this. This was like I was like, this is what starvation feels like. I was in pain. My metabolism was just firing. And I was laying there like, you just got to push this. Like, come on, you just got
yeah,
to push. Tomorrow's another day. You got enough more carbs to eat. Like, it's fine. Laying there, tossing, turning. I couldn't switch off. All I wanted to do was eat something just to ease it away. It was
yeah.
painful. Anyways, I'd cooked a massive batch of rice for obviously the next day of my carb up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go have some carbs. That's probably what my body needs. So I went there. Mind you, it's pitch black. Steph's sleeping in the same room. I get a teaspoon and I'm like having a little bit, not weighed either. I'm just
Yeah.
eyeballing. I'm having some carbs and I'm like, okay, I'll have a few teaspoons of carbs and I'm like, okay, how do I feel? Nah, that's not hitting it. I need something else. Anyway, there I am like, okay, if I have a little bit of fats, that should do me
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I dipped my just to like wet the end of the spoon into peanut butter, and then had some more rice. Did that a couple more times.
That's a good
Um,
combination.
yeah, it was like the weirdest, most greatest thing ever. And then I like stood back and I was like, yeah, yeah, we're good. That was it. Perfect. All right, cool. Went to bed, had the best sleep ever. I was like, sweet, I needed that. Anyway, I was like, before I went to bed, I was like, look, this can go two ways. I've either stuffed it up or it's going to do me good.
Yeah.
I was listening to my body though. So went to bed, got up. I'm such an early bird, so I'm always awake before Steph. Got up, went to the bathroom. As I'm walking to the bathroom, I'm like, yeah, I feel really tight. Holy shit. Okay. That real tight feeling, dry. All right. So I go to the toilet, go weigh myself. I come in lighter. I kid you not. I think I was like, at that point, I weighed myself and I was like 47.2 kilos or something. And I was like, what the heck? And then I just started laughing and I'm like, see, I knew I needed that food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, and then so Steph's woken up and I tell her and I'm laughing. I go, all right, I should probably tell her. She goes, what was your weight? And I told her. She goes, yeah, like money. I'm like, I know, sis. And I go, all right, I should probably tell you what's happened. And she goes, what's happened? So I tell her, and she looks at me and she goes, don't you ever do that again. And I said, I'm sorry, girlfriend. I was so hungry, didn't want to wake you, just was listening to my body. And then she laughed. She goes, you're lucky it didn't stuff you up. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry, like apologizing to my
Yeah,
mother.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then so luckily it worked in my favor. But yeah, that was hilarious. That was probably like one thing that I just was like, whoa, that's just mind blowing. I've literally never in like all the preps that I've had experienced that hunger. Like,
It's interesting because when you were telling me that, it made me kind of think, were you were you at that point where, because you talk about where you can sometimes end up over dieting. So were you
yeah,
at that point where your body was like, okay, I really need fuel right now. If you don't feed me, I may get lost in over dieting. So then no matter what you give me, I'm not going to build back up. And maybe that was, that's just my thought, like what I'm taking away from what you said, that could have possibly in it. And that's maybe why you were having such starvation and such pain with it. Because it's weird to be, we will deal with hunger, but to have the pain that you're having and to,
yeah, it was like next level. Hey, like it's just like my metabolism was on fire.
yeah.
But the same thing during the day, like I would eat and I'm like, Steph, could eat more. And she goes, I know you probably can, but we will just keep it as is. And I'm like, all right, right. Same thing with Queensland. I'm like, I could eat more. Like I would eat and I'm like, didn't touch sides, couldn't eat more. Like I'm very in tune with my body. And this isn't my first rodeo.
Yeah.
I've prepped before. So I'm very familiar with how I feel and like knowing what I need and what I'm missing. Like, oh, do I need more protein? Do I need more carbs? That sort of stuff. So yeah. Yeah, when that happened, I was
That's
like,
crazy. That's a good story.
yeah, I know, right? I actually forgot about it. And then at work, everyone was like asking me about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. I need to tell people about what that happened. Because like it's like little things that happen along the
Yeah.
way. And yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah.
It's also really interesting because I wonder, I guess it's also important to, it's really a 50-50 because it's really interesting the more you kind of really think about it. Because you're like, let's say you woke Steph up and Steph said, no, don't eat. And then it affected your look in the morning. So it's like also
Yeah.
kind of knowing, like you're saying, it's good that you've really learned when your body's hungry and knowing that difference between, oh, it's just that normal hunger and no, it's a different type and just taking
Yeah.
that risk. And I guess the other thing that made me think of it when you said is kind of similar to Queensland, maybe that's kind of the goal. When your metabolism is working like that, that's when that's your best look because your stomach is obviously super tight. Everything's working really well. You're digesting all
Yeah.
the food. And that's maybe, I guess, maybe something that you can look for, I guess, that experience towards the future preps and see
Yeah.
that corresponds with your look. Because a few things I wanted to bring up was I was looking back at the pictures of, amateur, Hawaii, and nationals. And I was interested to hear your opinion was I do think, because the look you brought to Hawaii, I think that was, I reckon, the best look. I'm
I
interested.
agree.
Amateur Olympia looked really close, but I think you were still, let's say 2 to 5% away from that. Like you would just hit the nail on the head at Hawaii.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess we're jumping the gun a bit because I was going to say, what do you think was the difference between that and then what the amateur Olympia? Do you think it was because was your first time doing multiple shows back to back to back, or was there some other hiccups that happened at the amateur Olympia?
So I had 3 weeks between Hawaii and Olympia.
Yeah.
Too long. Too long.
How long between Japan and Hawaii?
Back to back.
Okay.
1 week. I jumped off stage, Japan, had my treats, peak week next day.
Okay.
Yeah, started straight away. So I knew my body was tapping out,
Mm.
tapping out. I mentally was so strong, but my body didn't want a bar. Was like, okay, Miles, I'm getting done. So because we had 3 weeks, we decided to pull back a tiny bit just to give my body a little bit of a chill after Hawaii. So up my food the tiniest bit,
Yeah.
and still kept everything quite consistent. I think maybe like I cut back my cardio a tiny bit too, just to give my body just a little bit of a chill, like, and then so we could come in strong for those last 2 weeks. But at this point, my body was not okay. Like,
Yeah.
and because I was grinding and I was working hard, and my body was not doing what I wanted it to do, that started affecting me mentally. And that's when I went, nah, off socials, off everything. I'm not talking to anyone. The
Yeah.
only person I'm talking to is Steph, and that's it. So yeah, we had to push. We had to push really, really hard. Calories dropped more, cardio increased more. I had to work even harder. And unfortunately, that's just what it takes. And it's what we had to do. I was in a deficit and at these calories for so long, your body just goes, cool, that's my new normal.
Yeah.
I can survive off this. And I'm like, no, we can't survive off this. We need to push. We need to bring the shreds. It's Las Vegas. It's Amateur Olympia. This is the best show. This is the show. I need to bring my best. So yeah, like I said, mentally so strong, but my body was just not following. And I was like, my body's tapping out. And then I got in my own head. And Steph's like, you need to get out of your own head. You are okay. You are fine. Check in with me. Trust me. We're okay. I'm like, Steph, I've stuffed it. I'm stressed. I'm done. What have I done? And then she was like, just send me a check-in photo, Marlet. Chill. And I'm like, okay. I sent her a check-in photo and she's like, what are you stressed about? You are on point. And I'm like, my prep goggles, I kid you not. Horrible.
Stop
I
playing
look
mind
at
games.
myself in the mirror. Yeah. I look at myself in the mirror and go, nah, not lean enough. I'm not lean enough. I'm not bringing my best. And I was getting in my own head.
Yeah.
So when Steph then that day said to me, Marlette, you are on point. Like, you need to chill. I had this weight lifted off my shoulders and I was like, so I'm okay. And I'm like, I didn't stuff it up. She's like, no, I wouldn't even let you stuff it up even if you tried. And I was like, okay, all right. And then felt so much better. And then from there, my body was just rolling, and it was just like it was working. I'm like, it's happening. I'm back.
No time.
It was crazy. Hey, yeah, it was awesome. Like, yeah, that week I'll never forget. Hey, I was like in my own head, heavy, and the prep goggles were like worse than I've ever seen before. Like, yeah.
But I think at that point though, as well, you know, you got to take into consideration at that point what, you know, you're doing your fourth show, getting ready for your fourth peak week, and you had flown to like 3 different countries.
It was my fifth show.
Your fifth show. So
yeah, like I know, crazy.
so it makes sense that, you know, unwillingly, even though, you know, I think we are, you know, so mentally strong to a point. I think, like you're saying, there gets to a point where your body will naturally just, you know, shut down. And that's always the thing you got to be mindful when doing multiple shows. So, you know, I think your mind just started to break a little bit, but it was good that all it took was, you didn't get stuck in the rabbit hole. Like, it's good that Steph was able to go, no, you're on point, everything's good. And then that broke the prep goggles.
Yeah. Broke it out straight away. I literally just it's literally like I was lifted off the ground again. And it's like I was reborn. And I'm like, okay, we're good. All right. Well, she says we're good. I trust her with my soul. I trust her with my life. Cool, we're good. I'm on point. And then so
awesome.
Yeah. I definitely I loved my look for Olympia. I still love Hawaii more, but I think at that point my body was again, it's tapping out. And I had noticed I lost a little bit of muscle. Again, inevitable when you've been stage lean for 2 months. So it's just like a risk you take. Like, I was chasing something. And so unfortunately it's just what happens.
But
But
even that happening, you still bought an exceptional package. You know, you
yeah,
still
thank
won
you.
your division like class,
Yeah, I know.
and then
Yeah,
you
they
got
made
into
me feel-
overalls. You know, it was and you were there with Jade too, and Jade won her class, so that was
I
awesome. All
know.
of the
Yeah,
girls did
it's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
I guess something that's interesting to me is so from Hawaii to Olympia 3 weeks. So when would have Orlando been if you did that? Would that have been a 1 week straight after Hawaii? Or was it one
Yes.
week? Yeah. So I'm interested to know if you're able to keep that back to back going and you went to Orlando, could that have been the pro card win because your body, yeah, or if because I think like you're saying that because it was your fish show and having that 3 week break was like just that week off, even though you mentally needed it, then your body kind of got used to it anyway. So it was hard to then, like you're saying, you
Yeah.
struggled to get back in that groove. So it's unfortunate. It's just like, I guess, the way things line up. But it's just all those interesting what if questions,
Yeah,
What could
I
possibly
know.
be?
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, like um having to grind so hard, and I literally had just enough food to survive like the day and my workout. And then like I'm really good, like I'm a bubbly human the entire time.
Yeah.
Entire time. Like people are like, wow, peak week, how are you not dying? Like, I love this. This is what I'm here for. I love this so much. Like, I choose to do this. I am blessed enough to be able to do this. Like, I love every moment. And it wasn't until those last 2 weeks, so 2 weeks before when we had to cut my calories more, up my cardio, that sort of thing, that I started becoming like, couldn't function. Like,
Yeah.
I like, okay. I was trying to have conversations with Steph, and then I would like stop halfway and I'm like, what was I saying? And she's like, and she goes, it was so funny. So after show, she's like, you're back. Like after I had carbs, she's like,
Yeah.
you're back. I missed you. And I was like, I'm back, you guys. And I'm like, she goes, I was getting worried. I lost you for a couple weeks, but I just let you be because you had to grind. I just let you do your thing. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I go, I didn't like that Marlette. I didn't like her at all. I literally just pushed everyone away like savage and was like, get out of my
Tunnel
way,
vision. Yeah.
literally.
But I think,
And then it paid off when I won. Like,
yeah.
that was awesome. Yeah.
No, I think it's a good learning experience anyway, because I think sometimes it's always interesting to, like you're saying, you're always a very bubbly person. A lot of people surprise you're in peak week sometimes. So I think to kind of experience a different side of you also helps you grow. It's really interesting kind of go, well, I've never really been so, I guess, not bubbly and really just focused. So it's like, who am I? Like, wow, I'm learning more about myself. So I'm sure you can take what you learned through that period without, I guess, going back into that mode,
Yeah.
and then use that in the next prep because you at least gain the abilities and the skills of maybe the focus or the um, work ethic that you gained. So it'll be interesting to see how, I think it's really good that you did so many shows back to back. And I think
Oh,
you
I
have
learned so
gained
much.
so much knowledge, so much, even Steph, like as your coach,
Oh,
being
yeah.
able to be there by your side has then helped her to help you better. And just, it sounds like it's been overall like the best idea, the best way to end the
Abs-
year, as well
yeah.
as, especially you as an athlete.
100%. Like, I learned so much about my body. Steph learned so much about my body that you can't learn after a state and a national
Yeah.
show. You do what you normally do in Australia, a state show. You do your peak. Did you stuff it up? Maybe. Let's try something different. Cool. We'll smash it for nationals. You go and do nationals, comes in great, perfect. Then you move on.
Yeah.
Like, and then you start reversing. Whereas me is like, nah, we're gonna do another peak. Every peak was different. Every physique I brought was
It's
different.
different.
We trialed things like, do I need more fish? Like, let's try more fish. What about, oh, maybe I need more chicken? Like the sources of protein, the amount of protein, like, yeah, just like little things, and like when to cut out salt, when to introduce salt, and with water and all this sort of stuff. So sweet potato, like there was like little hiccups, and I'm like, I wonder why this is happening. And I'm like, okay, what have I introduced? Like, what have I done differently? Yeah, and just so many things I learned about my body, and just we learned that I need a lot of caffeine, like genuinely not for energy, but more for digestion
Yeah.
and to yeah, I don't know, and will help with any water retention too because it's a diuretic. So
Yeah.
like yeah, just like little things you learn along the way, and they're yeah, it's actually like amazing because no individual is the same, and like
Yeah.
unless you go out and you explore and you experiment on yourself, you're never gonna know.
And I think another thing too that you will learn, like, and it's always something I guess you don't really realize maybe until, I suppose, especially in Australia, because it's hard, like you're saying, you have the two shows, you do your state, then the nationals, and then you got to wait 6 months. Where like, as a pro or being overseas, you can do multiple shows. So learning, like, you hear a lot of pros that, for example, like Ian Valier, like he knows he can do 2 or 3 shows and he gets better each show. So you've learned, okay, I can get better each show.
Mm-hmm.
But then you maybe go, oh, okay, maybe it could have been all the flying. So by the time I got to the amateur Olympia, it was too much. Or, if they were all 1 week apart, would I have been able to just get better and better and better? So it's
Yeah,
really exciting to kind of see what, if you do compete again this year, and if you do more overseas travel, how, that whole prep and how you can take what you've learned and knowing you can do more shows back to back. Because some people may just be only able to do the two. And no,
yeah.
so it's good, like you're saying, that you've learned a lot like that.
Yeah, like some people, yeah, I've had conversations with heaps of athletes and heaps of other competitors, and heaps of them say, I don't even know how you can do like 2 weeks apart. I couldn't do 2 weeks apart. And they're like, and I was like, well, I did 3. And that for me, that I can't.
Yeah.
2 weeks, that's fine. I can manage 2 weeks. But 3 weeks, I was like, oh no. But yeah. But then again, was it because we did that little relaxed phase and I
Yeah.
already had done 3 shows? Like, who knows? Like, maybe if I had done one show and then 3 weeks apart another show, I could have been better. Yeah. It's just like heaps of what ifs. And that's, yeah, something you
It's
just
just
learn as you go.
That's right. It's just like slowly ticking them off and going, yeah, that's right. No, that's the wrong answer. That's the right answer. Okay, cool. We can do this for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we kind of talk about, I guess, maybe any plans moving on to this year, if you want to divulge any of that, I just kind of want to talk about, because you were able to be there at the Olympia. Um, and I remember I saw your post, like you saw Chris and that on stage. So like, I guess I just wanted to
Uh,
hear how was that experience, like actually
it was
watching
amazing.
Olympia?
Oh, literally, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. It was like when I walked into the expo, um, it was literally walking into my real life Instagram,
That's
but at arm's reach.
Yeah, yeah.
Arm's reach. Um, I if I would see a bikini girl like Janet saw her, I just went up to her and I said, and I just spoke words with her. Like she was just a normal person. I went and spoke to Maureen. I stopped her, said like she looked amazing, and after prejudging, and then I ended up bumping into Jen Dory and like just having conversations with all these
Awesome.
people, and like realizing that these people are also just everyday
Humans.
people
Yeah.
and they're just normal people and they just love and breathe the sport that you love and breathe to. They're obviously just at a different level that
Yeah.
they've worked hard for. So it was honestly truly so amazing. And then seeing other people, like I was like walking, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Brett Contreras, like the glute guru. I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay. And then being like and seeing other people, and it was honestly amazing. And then going to the show as well, the finals was just incredible. It was amazing. Like I can't express how awesome it is, and to tell anyone who's into bodybuilding, like to go and just experience
Yeah.
the live show. It is
Definitely.
amazing.
It's on the
Yeah,
bucket list, that's for sure.
yeah, it
I
was.
think
Yeah,
I think moments like that show us, I think sometimes with phones and social media, we get so trapped with, we only see them on the phone, and because, whether they're in a different country or whatever, or even a, different state, or they live near us, but because we only ever see them on the phone and they live a different lifestyle to a degree, we always think they're like famous or out of reach. So
yeah.
then when we see them in person, it's like that really cool reminder that, oh my gosh, they are a human being.
They're just on our level.
Yeah.
Just yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like, do you know what? It's like meeting them in person is like awesome, but then also seeing like how short people actually are. Like Maureen's shorter than me. Like
Really?
I think I ended up coming in at like 5'1.25". I don't know. So like I'm only short. I'm like 155 centimeters. So I'm a really short
Yeah,
gal.
yeah.
Maureen's shorter than me.
So
So
she
like when
must
I was talking to her, I was like kind of looking down at her, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a really short human and I'm talking down to you. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I feel really good about myself, but also, hell yeah, you won it for the shorties. Like you
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
showing us all shorties that we can win
That's
at
right.
Olympic level. So yeah, that was actually really funny. Like Brett Contreras, he is enormous. Again, didn't think he was really tall, and then saw him, and I was like, "You're a giant." But yeah, just like that was also one random thing. I'm like, wow, you get to actually see how tall or short people are because on Instagram you have no idea.
Yeah, it's like one other thing. Like you kind of because you somewhat put them on a pedestal kind of. So you
Yeah,
to all of a sudden realize you're kind of looking down on them. You kind of like this doesn't feel right. Why am I look? I should be looking up at you.
I know. Yeah, yeah, and then just seeing like Seabum in the flesh, like
That's
posing and stuff, and you're
been
like,
amazing.
whoa. Like we knew you were a piece of art, but like seeing you in the flesh, it's
Something
like,
different.
oh man, it is crazy. Yeah. And then you see them like on stage or like walking past you and you think, wow, if this is you at your leanest, imagine at your maintenance.
Yeah,
Like with all that extra body fat and just being like a normal human. I'm like, wow, where do you buy clothes? Like actually.
literally.
So yeah, yeah, it's really
It's
cool.
that's funny that you say that because I remember like I've gained this like weird perspective of like people being big. So I remember when I first got in the gym and like you see people and you're like, fuck, they're huge. And then you get into bodybuilding and then you're like, no, they're not that big. And then you see people on like on the phone, social media, YouTube, and the bodybuilders, and you're like, yo, that's big. And then you kind of all of a sudden gotta like the bigger you get and stuff, you kind of like, they're big, but because I only see them on screen, they don't look that big. And then you see
Mm.
them in person, you're like, this is not human.
No, literally, like I kid you not, it was crazy. Like respect, man, respect to bodybuilders, like female and males, like proper. The ones in those, like even physique, like I can't. It's amazing. Like I think the whole time I was like speechless, and I was looking at stuff like, are we really here right now? She's like, yeah, Marla, this is happening. I'm like, okay. Like looking and even the bikini girls and then gauging them like how tall, how little they are, and yeah, and they're posing and stuff, and like then questioning like how are these people pros? Like I don't know, just like a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it was
That's a
awesome.
very,
It was
very,
so
very,
awesome.
very special experience.
It really was. And then being there with Steph, like not only is she my coach, but she's like my best
Yeah.
friend too. So it was like a whole nother level of
More
like,
wholesome.
yeah.
One quick question about the Olympia, because I know there was lots of controversy that people thought Jen was going to win again, and that. What was
Yes.
your opinion being there and watching it? Did you see Maureen possibly having the win, or were you on that side that Jen? It was Jen.
I Steph and I had so many conversations about who is the underdog. We both knew Maureen was underdog. We're like, she looks amazing. She's coming in. But as she was coming in and posting photos, we were like, she looks watery. She doesn't look in condition. She doesn't look in condition. When she came out, you could tell she did not feel confident. She walked on stage, did her posing, but you could tell she wasn't there. She could feel
Yeah,
that her physique wasn't there. And she actually looked a little bit watery. But she was vacuuming really well to make her midsection look quite small. But she looked a bit soft. And then obviously Jen Dory, she brought in a way tighter physique. Like she
yeah,
was
yeah,
much tighter than last year. And then again, when we saw them for finals, Maureen tightened up and Jen still looked the same. And yeah, you could tell Maureen had more confidence in her. We both knew it was out of those two. Um, when Maureen won, I was like, okay. And then you compare physiques. Why compare last year's winner and this year's winner, and they're slightly softer. You compare Jen's physique last year to this year, and this year she was much more leaner and tighter. So I think it just shows that they want that
that
slight
softer
look.
look. Yeah, because it
Yeah.
that was I think that was also the biggest thing that I was interested because I'm a big fan of Laura Lee, and when she came in, she was so tight. Like, and I was, and that immediately, and so when she got kicked out of that and she was in the second call out, I was like, I
Mind
can't get
blowing,
it.
right?
I was shocked, but I was like, she's
No.
too tight though. Like she's too
Yes.
lean.
So what you guys saw on TV, she still didn't look as shredded as what she looked like in person. She was shredded. Like straight away she came out and I straight away was like, she's too lean. Too
Yeah.
lean. And just cuts in her quads. Just like, and the cut, like her glutes. And she's just, yeah, she looked amazing. Don't get me wrong. Love her physique. But I think she just came in way too lean, way too lean, way too
And
lean.
I think that's been that. I think the interesting thing, especially the more that I've like learned more about bikini and stuff like that, is you because I've always not understood the conditioning side of it properly. But and after a lot of people complaining about Jen and Maureen and that, and who was it? The head dude put out a post and explained why Maureen actually won. And I really get it's that you want to bring in that conditioning tight look, but it's still that you're not meant to be lean. Like you're still meant to look like a bikini athlete.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting where you need to be able to find that balance. And I think
Mm,
it's funny because I think as bodybuilders we always have that mindset of condition is king. But I guess as a bikini athlete, it's even harder because it's like, yes, condition is king, but it's where's that balance? Because I think,
mm,
like you're saying, Jen probably went, all right, well, I was perfect here, being the same package, but it's slightly sharper, and that ended up not going in
that,
her favor.
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, so with the bikini, like they want that real nice symmetry. They want that balance. They want you to still look feminine. They want you to be lean and have that sort of tight physique, but they don't want to see lines. If
Yeah,
they want to see lines, it's in your rear shot. They want to see that nice full glute that cuts in to see your hamstring, that tie in there, but not overly that it's so sharp. Like we were actually a little bit concerned that my tie-ins were too sharp for Vegas. Like
really.
they're pretty, like if you look up the photos from NPC and then you see the lineup of us, my tie-ins are really sharp. And even I looked back and was like, my tie-ins are really sharp. She's like, yeah, we were on a fine line there, Miles. And I was like, right. So that's like for some females, that's their weakness, like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
bring in
yeah.
tie-ins. But for me, no, like my tie-ins are so sharp. But for a midsection, for other females, so easy for them. But for me, I'm like, got to bring a tight midsection, got to work really hard for it.
Yeah, but see, that's interesting because then you go into that thing, and I think that's some like for example Laura Lee, she gets lean so easily. So when you try and chase one thing, to get because to get your midsection leaner, you have to work harder. But in doing so, then you're gonna have that glute ham tie that's gonna come in even harder. So it's like, fuck, how do I really
Exactly.
balance that?
And you can't, yeah, and you
Yeah.
literally can't target train. So it's kind of like your body just does its thing and you just got to roll with it.
And this
So
this
yeah,
is where this kind of is perfect because it leads into my next question, um, which is which I've also been finding super, super interesting across the board with all divisions with the judging. So now that you've done, I guess 4 different international shows, 5, how do you think there was a consistency in the judging at each show that you did? Because there was a lot of talk afterwards. I remember, Troy Thornton, he did a little podcast on it. I know a lot of the other girls, bikini girls, said a lot about how the amateur Olympia American judging for bikini is a lot different to the Australian judging. So I was
absolutely.
so I was
Yeah.
wondering if you noticed any different with Japan and Hawaii, or do you think they were similar to
Yeah.
America?
So all the shows I did, they were all American judges.
Okay.
Obviously Japan had a couple Japanese judges, but majority of them were all American. So the consistency was there.
Yeah.
There's always been that sort of like you're not sure in Australia, whoever the head judge is, like you're just not sure. There, I would say that there lacks consistency in Australia. I think. Yeah, it's
It's
difficult because you try and like bring obviously what Olympia brings, and then they might, and in Australia they're like, oh, not too shredded. I don't
yeah.
know, like
It's interesting. It's really interesting. Like I would love to try and, eventually get someone like Tony on or even some of the judges and, really ask about that. Because I was having on the group podcast and we were just talking about you would think that, because IFBBB is the umbrella that, like you're saying, if the American judges are doing international shows, but we have our own set of judges here in Australia, why would they not follow the criteria of the America? Because if the Olympia is the goal and you have to get your pro card and you get your pro card in Australia, why is the judging not the same? So yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting, and I was just wanting to, I guess, yeah, hear that feedback from you, of what were the international shows like, and so to know that they had American judges there, I guess maybe it's something that I don't know. Maybe the couple of years this year might be different. They might go, okay, we've heard feedback and
Yeah.
stuff. We're going to follow. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. But I guess something that I guess as an Australian, I'm part of the IFBB umbrella. It's something that maybe we could work towards.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think, yeah, I mean, regardless, like in the sport, like you bring your best and that's it.
Yeah,
You bring your best. And obviously there's criteria you try and reach for, but anything can happen. And that's just unfortunately the sport. The judges might love you, the judges might not. And that's just what it is.
I think that's important too. It's important to, I guess, I think sometimes I get too carried away with the semantics of all the really like finer details of things. So, and
Mm.
and I was talking to Jaden, and Jaden was saying, he was like, just all you got to focus on is bring the package that you want to bring, the best package that is your physique, and that's all you can really do. The judges are either going to like you or not. If you go overseas, you go overseas. They're either going to like you or not. You know, I guess sometimes when you want to chase the semantics, then you can end up
Looking
falling.
bad.
Yeah, you can end up falling short.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's why, I mean, you've got the criteria, you work towards the criteria, but you bring your best. It's your body. This is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you bring your best. And yeah, if the judges love you and they love your package on the day, then awesome. And if they don't, and then find out why.
yeah, definitely super
And then
important.
try and work towards that. So yeah.
So, what was the feedback from the amateur Olympia?
It would just have to be tighter waist again.
Okay, so at least you know that you've done. I guess that's the best outcome really, because you kind of knew that, and it's just being double confirmed at that level. And I guess knowing that you won Hawaii and you had that tight waist, and that was obviously out of all shows that was the best look.
Mm-hmm.
So it's achievable. So I guess it's just working on how to bring that to whether you compete back here in Australia or in your next international show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What are, if you don't mind, do you, like, are you definitely competing again this year?
I don't know. I'm like in two minds. Hey, I'm in two minds. Obviously Steph and I have spoken and we keep very much to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still, yeah, I don't know. I'm still very like on the fence. Not because I don't want to, just I don't want to go on stage looking average.
Yeah, I get it. Like
Yeah.
you deserve time off. You had a really good run, and at the same time, you're kind of at that point where you can't. I guess it. You're due to get your pro card. You know what you have to do. Like if Hawaii was a pro qualified, game over. You got your pro card, so you know what package you have to bring. So it's just like when do how can I when is it and how can I know that I'm going to bring that to the stage? It's
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
that time, and I'm sure you and
Yeah.
Steph can make a game plan to make that
Yeah.
happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's definitely not over for me.
Uh,
Never.
I'm I'm sure I'm 100% sure. It may seem to other people that I'm just like riding you, but I definitely I see you getting your pro card. I agree with you 100%. You have the passion, you have the love, you
Yes,
have the
thank
physique,
you.
and
Yes.
it's going to happen. It's just that I think unfortunately, being Australian athletes, we have a waiting list. It's just like we have all these amateurs that could really be pros, but it's just like, when is it their turn? And it's
Yeah,
just keeping that
totally.
hustle and keeping that passion alive, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna get it.
100%. I know it's there. It's literally like I can just taste it. It's literally a bee sting away. So, yeah, and I think winning just proves it.
Yeah,
So, Yeah. And not winning just one show, but like multiple shows. First time internationally as an Australian doing this crazy thing and so many shows back to back.
Yeah.
And being the first Aussie to do that as well and winning. Yeah, I think it shows how close I am. So,
And no one can take
and
that away from you.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest takeaway is that realization of, like you're saying, you did back-to-back shows, not one international, not two, like three, placed in all of them, apart from Japan. But we know the reason there was just too much stress. So yeah,
Yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me and having this like
Thank you
2002
so
recap.
much.
It's been
No,
awesome.
I loved it.
I'm excited for everyone to hear this, and
I know, me too, because I haven't actually been able to do a wrap up. So
yeah.
when you asked me to be on and to do a wrap up, I'm like, this is perfect. I can't wait. Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you giving me the chance to allow, have my platform as the one that you share that wrap up on. As soon as you finish the amateur Olympia, I was like, man, I really just want to talk to her and hear about.
I know. I know.
So I was like,
Bless you. Thank you.
this is a perfect way. And then I guess a better way to do it than on the podcast and share with everybody else so they can
Yeah.
hear all the fun stories.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Well, have a good rest of the day,
Thanks, you
and I'll
too.
talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.